So this is my lovely audience of three lovely audience members.
Hi.
Hello. All right. My name is Jason Emick, and today I'm going to talk to you all about the benefits of recycling. Our planet is an ever-increasing population, and along with this ever-increasing population is also the ever-increasing demand for products and materials. If we are to sustain our natural environment and its resources, we must recycle our byproducts of our consumption or face a major change of resources in our future and lack of resources in our future. Today I will talk about the basics of recycling and how it can positively benefit our world around us. Being a sustainability major, I have learned many ideals of recycling through various concepts and courses in the last couple of years of my studies. To back up my credibility, I will also be referencing a few articles from a CNN news article about recycling, as well as the Encyclopedia Britannica online of recycling. And my third credible source is going to be a recycling policy article from Land Economics Journal. Recycling of previously used materials is quite beneficial to both the economy and the natural environment that we live in. So to touch on some of the basics of recycling, according to Encyclopedia Britannica, the recycling in its basic definition is the recovery and reprocessing of waste materials to use for new products. There are several phases of recycling in its entirety. The first would be the collection of waste and byproducts from consumption. Then that would go into processing that waste into new materials. The purchase of recycled products is going to be the third, so again you start off with collecting the waste, reproducing it into new materials, and then of course to keep the life cycle going of recycling, then people would have to buy that final source. The ultimate situation that is preferred in this whole cycle is the continuing of such, so they can keep being reused, recollected, recycled, and continuing until you can't recycle it anymore. There are basic recyclable materials. The main ones that you see in the world that are recycled currently are iron, steel, aluminum cans, glass bottles, paper, be it like plastic, or I'm sorry, be it cardboard or card paper or newspaper, and also wood and plastic. So here, just a couple of basic pictures for you to show you. This is just like an obvious recycle bin. So throw your stuff in the recycle bin, put it on the curb, and the recycling center, if you have one locally, will take care of that for you and reproduce that into new stuff. A couple of different plastics. Usually the number one plastic is going to be clear, and you can tell if it's number one or what kind of number of plastic it is. There should be like a little recycle sign and then a number within that. In most smaller towns like where I live, they only recycle number one and number two plastics. Clear would be number one, mainly for water bottles, and number two would be like your opaque bottles, like milk jugs and stuff like that, laundry detergent bottles. Also, you can, of course, recycle newspaper, and then the unfortunate thing I'll touch on later is that glass is the least efficient thing to recycle as far as like how much energy is put into how much you get out of it. So a lot of small towns like the one I live in Vermillion does not recycle glass. Aluminum cans, again I'll touch on that, is the most efficient thing to recycle, and cardboard too, I believe. So now that you know the basics of recycling, I'll share with you how this process benefits your natural environment. The process of recycling is a key point in helping to preserve our natural environment. Recycling helps to reduce the necessity of raw resources required to create energy or make new products. This can things that you would reduce, like coal, petrol, natural gas, trees. Those are all things that are required to produce like new products, like you burn coal to get electricity, petrol for gasoline, and or even like in plants to process plastic into new materials, etc. Also, recycling also helps reduce the amount of waste in a landfill. Glass is one of the least efficient ways to recycle, like I was saying. However, it does make up approximately 6% of all the waste in most landfills, and this is according to the CNN news article that I looked at to get a lot of information for this speech. Also, Plastic makes up about 10% of total waste in landfills, and it is much more easy and more efficient to reconstitute into newer plastic. So it's a lot more efficient than glass. Recycling reduces air and water pollution that is caused by waste products. And according to the recycling policy article, which I found with that Land Economics Journal, only recently, in the past several decades, has recycling become a matter of public policy. This is due to factors of declining landfill areas as well as water pollution. Large production companies are even required to minimize their waste output by federal environmental policies. So, like big companies have a limit on how much waste they can put off, stuff like that, emissions, waste into the water, which is really terrible. Not only does recycling help to benefit our natural environment, but it does also positively affect our economy. Recycling is beneficial to our world economy, which is also a key importance in sustaining humanity as we know it. Recycling has emerged many times throughout history. During Great Depression, that is one circumstance, and this is a couple of examples that I found from the CNN News article. Also, during World War II, American companies recycled about 25% of their waste just to kind of keep things more localized in their governments without having to worry about external countries. And also just, I mean, their times were tough with money back then because they were basically spending it mostly on the military, so they couldn't worry about industry as much as outside of the military in those two situations. Today, global recycling industry generates about $160 billion worth of waste a year, and to make that, bring that to a mass aspect, 500 million tons of waste a year. Recycling is becoming one of the world's biggest employers, employing about 1.5 million people worldwide. And an example that I found from the CNN News article was creating a ton of aluminum cans from scratch takes 5 times more energy than creating a ton of aluminum cans from recycled material. So it's much more efficient to use aluminum cans create aluminum cans from recycled than it is just creating them fresh from start. Also, recycling plastic saves 80% of the energy costs, and paper saves about 64% of the original energy costs. According to the National Recycling Coalition, recycling materials in the U.S. saves us enough energy equaling gas for 11 million cars per year, also equaling electricity supply for 17.8 million people per year. That's a crazy amount of energy. 11% of energy produced by coal plants, and then 29% of electricity produced by nuclear. So that is just a couple of things how recycling benefits the economy, very important in that aspect. Recycling is extremely beneficial to sustaining our ecosystem as well as our economies. And now that you understand how key recycling is to our world economy and the planet's environment, please play your part in helping to sustain the world as we know it, because recycling is very important to that. Thank you very much. Let me grab this again. All right, and here is my lovely audience of 3. Thank you very much.